So what do you do if you aren't getting any traction from SEO yet and social media is not a platform you want to be on because it's potentially difficult to identify your audience? So Facebook is always going to be a challenge to try and get new business if you say an engineer, an accountant, or an architect. Basically any service or product that has a lengthy period between purchases, say over a year or even more, or perhaps once-off purchases. So it'll always be a struggle to capture the user's attention in these instances when you're wanting to get immediate return on investment, especially as a small business. So you need to be in front of the user's eyeball when there is an initial intent or for when the user is starting to move into their buying decision. So that's when AdWords search comes into its own. So the challenge, of course, is that AdWords is quite overwhelming. Google, over the years, has built a very powerful but complex advertising platform, and it can become quite intimidating to try and use. Even for the seasoned pros, there's continuous learning. So Google does provide a free certification where they go into more detail into rolling out a campaign. So I strongly suggest you go ahead and sign up to their course, if you're interested, of course. So I've placed a direct link into the resources section for this. And you can sign up from there anytime you would like to. So with that said, there are some fundamental principles though that we need to stick to when executing an AdWords campaign, which we'll get into a little later. So how does an AdWords search campaign fit into content promotion? The mindset of a user before clicking on search a text ad is intent. They are looking for a specific product or service, so they are nearing the bottom of that buying funnel. This means that the type of content you're promoting is a landing page that is lead or e-commerce transaction driven. A problem we see quite often, I'd say at least 90% of the time when I looked at ad campaigns this year, is that businesses use their standard web page from within their website as their landing page from their ad, which is full of distractions once the user is on it. Think about the menu navigation to the overall landing page that carries historical baggage or unclear messaging, which generally is not geared towards a strong lead generation campaign. The second problem I see even more often is a lack of content strategy post the lead capture. So when you start to realize how complex the decision-making process can be before the point of purchase, you realize how important content plays in the role to a point of sale. So from trust and credibility cues to delivering free value added content to help add value to the overall product offering. We suggest that the post-lead content strategy is driven by marketing automation. Your sales team will obviously follow up on each lead, but not everyone is ready to purchase at that stage. So even though they might be very close, they might still need an additional convincing that your sales team perhaps can't do because they just don't have capacity. So a controlled marketing automation strategy also gives you the ability to determine the tone, the design, and the overall messaging and packaging for the business. And this picks up the low-hanging fruit that your sales team doesn't really have capacity to follow up on. So at a page level, you need to be considering the following for your content. Okay, so you've got the value proposition for your product or service. Where does your lead generation form or purchase button appear in relation to your supporting content and design? Credibility cues, really important, like testimonials and client logos. And then at an ad level, you need to consider the following. Keywords related to your product or service that show purchasing intent, what negative keywords there are. So example, cheap might not be exactly the type of keyword that you want to go after. Understanding of the cost per click at a keyword level and campaign level is very important. Understanding of what your current conversion rate, very, very important. How many leads do you need to generate to make one sale? So which is called your cost per acquisition. The click-through rate for each ad, the copy for each ad, and how it ties back to the value proposition on your landing page. So the gist of paid search campaigns is that you really need to focus on your CPL, cost per lead, and your CPA, cost per acquisition. Once you've got the lead, you need to position your content assets using an email campaign, which we've briefly mentioned in terms of marketing automation. And we'll show you examples of WebGrowth's email campaign and reasoning behind our choice of content in an upcoming module titled Marketing Automation.